This might be the most important industrial story of the next decade. It has everything to do with cars and nothing to do with gasoline. And almost no one in America is talking about it. So I brought in my friend Elliot, who has been living in China for the past 18 years. You might have seen him on Everything Electric and Fully Charged. And now he's gonna work with us to tell the story of how the Chinese EV revolution that's quietly happening is going to mean huge changes around the world. So Elliot, take it away.
This is a Chinese EV, and this will spell the end of the big three in Detroit. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But is this a foregone conclusion, or is there a way for the US automakers to fight back? My name is Elliot Richards, and this is 2-Bit Da Vinci.
This video is brought to you by Anker SOLIX.
The Ford CEO drives a Chinese car. Jim Farley, the man leading one of America's most iconic automakers, used a Xiaomi SU7 as his daily driver for half a year. A Chinese-made electric vehicle with a 345-mile range that cost about $30,000. From a manufacturer that, until 2024, was best known for making smartphones. And after driving it, he went public. He called BYD, China's biggest automaker, the best in the business. Ford has reportedly even been in talks with Geely about producing cars in the United States. That's not something you'd have heard from a Detroit CEO 2 years ago. If you walked around the Beijing or Shanghai auto show today, the expression on the executive's face is one of shock and confusion. How has this happened? How do we fix this? Something has shifted. And if you're American, or if you care about what the auto industry looks like in 10 years, you need to understand exactly what this shift is and what it means for you. Because the story of Chinese automakers isn't really about cars. It's about one of the fastest industrial transformations in modern history. And the United States, for now, is watching it happen from behind a wall of tariffs, hoping that the wall holds. Let's talk about whether it will. Let's start with the scale of what we're talking about. In 2025, China sold 34.4 million vehicles. The United States sold 16.7 million. China's domestic market alone is more than twice the size of America's. And on the electric side, it's growing 9 times faster. And here's the number that matters the most. China now accounts for 35.6% of the entire global automotive market. More than 1 in 3 cars sold on the planet is sold in China. And Chinese automakers have turned that home market dominance into a global export machine. In 2025, China exported 8.3 million vehicles, a 30% jump in a single year, making it the world's largest vehicle exporter for the 3rd year in a row. To put that in context, Japan, which for decades was the dominant global auto exporter, has been surpassed. Germany is fading. And 3 Chinese companies, BYD, Geely and Chery, now sit inside the top 10 global automakers by sales volume. 6 Chinese brands are in the global top 20 compared to 5 Japanese. That's a first in automotive history. BYD specifically passed Ford in 2025 to rank 6th globally. Geely overtook Honda to take 8th. And it gets worse for legacy giants. The big 3, Ford, GM and Stellantis, have watched their combined global market share fall from roughly 21% in 2019 to under 16% in 2025. That's almost a 6-point drop in 6 years. But the most striking part of the data isn't China rising, it's foreign brands collapsing inside China. Honda just took a $15.7 billion write-down, its first annual loss since 1977. Honda's China sales fell 31% in a single year. Buick, a brand that in the 1930s sold more cars in China than any other, is down 65% from its 2020 peak. Chevrolet sold over 640,000 cars in China in 2018. By 2024, that had collapsed to 52,000, a 92% drop. Mitsubishi sold its Changsha plant to a Chinese EV brand for Yuan. That's about 14 cents. Hyundai sold its Chongqing plant for $226 million, roughly 80% off what it had cost to build. The Stellantis Jeep joint venture went from 222,000 cars sold in 2017 to literally 1 car sold in May of 2022. The next month, the venture went bankrupt. And then there's Russia. After Western brands pulled out post-invasion, Chinese brands, they took over. Chinese brand share of the Russian market went from 8% in 2022 to 62% in 2024. in 3 years.
It is summertime, which means RVs, camping, and summer storms. And there's good news because this Prime Day, Anker SOLIX is running its biggest discounts of the year. And one of my favorite new batteries is this, the Anker SOLIX C2000 Gen 2. It's a 2 kilowatt-hour portable power station that pushes 2,400 watts of continuous power and up to 4,000 watts at peak, enough to run 99% of your home. Even heavy power appliances like a portable infrared space heater or a tea kettle. And at 41.7 pounds, it's lighter than other portable power stations in this class. The C2000 Gen 2 is the world's first 2 kilowatt-hour unit to idle under 10 watts, sipping just 9. And that's why it's able to keep a full-size fridge cold for up to 32 hours on a single charge or 64 hours with the expansion battery. It recharges from 0 to 100% in 58 minutes on AC and solar combined. It runs on a 10-year LFP lithium iron phosphate battery rated for 4,000 charge cycles and switches to backup in 10 milliseconds, fast enough to keep your CPAP machine or your internet and modem running without a blink. So whether it's for camping or to power your RV or for emergencies, the Anker SOLIX C2000 Gen 2 is an amazing little battery to add to your kit for this summer. For Prime Day, Anker SOLIX is stacking free gifts on top of the lowest prices of the year, plus 30-day price guarantees, so if the price drops after you buy, you'll still be covered. Search Anker SOLIX C2000 Gen 2 on Google or Amazon, or check the links in the description for the best deals possible. Huge thanks to Anker SOLIX and you. Now back to the show.
Now, before we go further, a critical distinction. China's growth story is largely about electric vehicles. This isn't a combustion engine story, and that matters enormously for what comes next. The speed of China's EV rise looks, from the outside, almost implausible, but it happened by design. And understanding how it happened is the most important part of this story. First, the government bet everything on electric. Around 2015, China's central government decided that electric vehicles were a strategic priority, part of their Made in China 2025 plan. They subsidized manufacturers, built charging infrastructure at a scale no other country has matched, and created consumer incentives that made EVs the economical choice. And those incentives are not minor. In China, electric and gasoline cars wear different colored license plates. Green for electric, blue for gas. And in the biggest cities, getting a blue gas car plate is intentionally painful. In Shanghai, for example, you can't just buy a gas car and register it. You have to win a monthly auction for the plate itself. And those plates can cost more than 90,000 yuan. That's about 12,500 US dollars. In Beijing, the lottery for gas car plate is now 1 successful out of 333. In 2025, the city released 160,000 plates in total. 140,000 of them were reserved for electric vehicles. ICE buyers fought over the remaining 20,000. You buy a green NEV plate, it's free. There's no lottery, no auction, no purchase tax, no annual road tax. And the green plate lets you drive on restricted days and park in city centres where gas cars can't. When you add it all up, a Chinese family in Shanghai buying electric BYD Seal versus an equivalent gas-powered family sedan is paying about $17,500 less on day one. The Chinese government didn't just subsidize EVs, they made it expensive and inconvenient to buy anything else. Secondly, vertical integration at a speed Western companies still haven't matched. BYD doesn't buy batteries from a third party. They make their own. They developed their Blade battery in-house, a lithium iron phosphate design now considered one of the safest and most cost-efficient on Earth. When you control the most expensive component in the car, your cost structure looks completely different from everyone else's. BYD also makes its own chips, its own motors, and increasingly its own software. And the engineering scale is staggering. BYD has roughly 110,000 R&D engineers. That is bigger than Tesla's entire global workforce. They file 32 patents every single working day. And one Chinese company, CATL, makes 39% of every EV battery sold on Earth, and has done so for 9 years running. Tesla, BMW, Ford, Mercedes, VW, Toyota, and Stellantis all buy from them. The Western EV is largely a fiction. The Berlin-built Tesla Model Y ships with a BYD battery. Ford's $3.5 billion battery plant in Marshall, Michigan runs on CATL licensed technology. And third, price. This is where it gets uncomfortable for Americans because the numbers are stark. The 5 best-selling Chinese-made EVs in 2025 average about $9,888. The average new car in the United States, $51,456. The BYD Seagull, their entry-level EV, has now sold over 1 million units. Its price is around $10,000 US. China currently offers 130 EV models priced at under $40,000. The United States offers 4. And the safety question you might expect at that price point, it's largely been settled. Every major Chinese EV launched in Europe, the BYD Seal, Atto 3, Dolphin, Neo ET5, Zeekr 001, MG4 has scored 5 stars on Euro NCAP. The Neo ET5 was the first car ever to pass Euro NCAP's stricter 2023 protocol at 5 stars. And fourth, brutal domestic competition. China's market is unforgiving. There's dozens of brands, including tech companies like Xiaomi and Huawei, who are competing for the same customers. That environment, which Chinese industry insiders call Neijuan, a relentless cycle of price wars, overcapacity, and forced innovation, has produced companies that are exceptionally good at doing more for less. Xiaomi, the smartphone company, launched its first car in April 2024. Within 21 months, they delivered over 540,000 vehicles. Their first model, the SU7, took 50,000 pre-orders in 27 minutes. That kind of ramp is almost unimaginable in any other market. The tariff wall the United States has built isn't keeping Chinese automakers from getting better. It's keeping American consumers from seeing it firsthand. But the rest of the world is seeing it very clearly. In Europe, Chinese cars captured 6.1% of the market in 2025, up from near zero just 3 years ago. In the UK, BYD registered over 51,000 vehicles. In Spain, BYD sales jumped from 3,800 in 2024 to nearly 16,000 in 2025. In Germany, BYD outsold Tesla in January of 2026. Mexico is now the largest single export destination for Chinese vehicles. Australia, the Philippines, Brazil, and the Middle East are all posting strong growth. Canada is preparing to allow 49,000 Chinese cars in at a 6.1% tariff in early 2026, surrounding the United States with Chinese product. And here's the most surreal part of the whole story. Stellantis, the company that makes Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, paid 1.5 billion euros in 2023 for a 21% stake of a Chinese EV maker called Leapmotor. They now sell Chinese-built EVs in 9 European countries through their own dealer network. A Detroit equivalent automaker openly admitting it couldn't beat the Chinese, so it joined them, and the strategy is evolving. Chinese automakers learn from the tariff backlash. They're no longer purely an export economy. BYD is building factories in Hungary, Brazil, Turkey, and Thailand. Chery and SAIC are setting up local operations across Southeast Asia and Latin America. The term industry analysts now use is glocalization. Build where you sell, hire local workers, navigate local politics, and remove the tariff risk entirely. That model, local production, Chinese engineering, is exactly how Japanese automakers won America in the 1980s. Toyota, Honda, and Nissan didn't wait for the United States to open the door. They built factories in Ohio and Tennessee, hired American workers, and became American companies that happened to be designed in Japan. The Chinese are running the same play, just 40 years later. So what has the United States actually done about all of this? The answer under both administrations has been the same: tariffs. In May of 2024, the Biden administration quadrupled tariffs on Chinese EVs from 25% to 100%. The Trump administration kept every one of them in place and added more. A ban on Chinese software in connected vehicles and a phase out of Chinese hardware by 2029. On top of that, the $7,500 federal EV tax credit, which had been helping American consumers afford electric vehicles, expired on September 30th, 2025. The result is that the economics of buying an EV in America in 2026 have become hostile. At least 20 EV models have been discontinued or paused in the US market in 2025 and early 2026. The Tesla Model S and Model X, Honda's entire 0 Series before it ever launched, the Volvo EX30, the BMW i4 and iX, the Audi Q8 e-tron, Cadillac's Celestiq, capped at just 25 units a year, and Ford's F-150 Lightning killed in December of 2025. Sales of the Subaru Solterra fell 98.8% in October of 2025. The Toyota BZ4X fell 95.6% because selling them profitably under the current tariff regime became impossible. And the Volvo EX30 is the perfect case study in the absurdity of layered protectionism. It was originally built in China, so it faced Biden's 100% Chinese EV tariff. Volvo invested 200 million euros to move production to Belgium. Then in March of 2025, Trump's blanket 25% tariff on imported vehicles hit Belgium too. A car that was supposed to start under $35,000 now costs $40,345 in the United States. Volvo confirmed it won't return to the American market after the 2026 model year. Meanwhile, in Europe, the same car was the third best-selling EV of 2024. Over 78,000 registrations, and it won EV of the year. The rest of the world still gets it. America doesn't. Now, the argument for tariffs is a serious one. The US auto industry supports 10 million jobs and generates $730 billion in annual wages. If Chinese EVs entered the American market at $10,000 to $12,000, the disruption to domestic manufacturing would be immediate and severe. But there is a counter-argument that's equally serious. Tariff walls don't breed innovation. They reduce the pressure to compete. Studies of previous US tariff regimes have found net job losses of 140,000 to 275,000 across industries, paired with high consumer prices. And Chinese automakers are getting better, whether or not they're in the US market. The tariffs delay the confrontation. They don't change the underlying dynamics.
It's all about collaboration. It's the only way out of this. You can't, unless the big three are going to start innovating in a huge way in the US, which doesn't look likely. Maybe Ford has got a bit of a better strategy. They've got their new Skunk Works. They've got new cars, electric cars in development. Unless they really start working together more with the Chinese, you're not going to be successful. There's only one way out, and you have to collaborate. Like pushing and fighting back against it just won't work. Tariffs don't work. Blocking technology doesn't work. It's just a stopgap.
There's a historical parallel worth sitting with. When Japanese automakers entered the United States in the 1980s, critics warned of a catastrophe for American workers. What actually happened? Toyota and Honda brought manufacturing techniques that ultimately made US industry more competitive. Workers kept their jobs. American companies built better cars. Consumers got more choice at better prices. But there's a crucial asymmetry between then and now. Japan was welcomed in if they bought jobs. They built 24 plants on US soil, invested $66.4 billion, and today support 2.34 million American jobs. China's being kept out entirely. BYD shelved its Mexico factory in July of 2025 under tariff uncertainty. As of today, there's not a single Chinese-owned auto plant in the United States. The question for the United States right now is whether protectionism is buying time for American automakers to catch up, or whether it's just buying time. Let's be direct about what the current situation means if you're buying a car in America today. You're paying more than you need to. The average new car in the United States costs $51,456. The average Chinese EV costs a fraction of that. Those products do not exist in your market by policy design. You're being insulated from a competition that, in all likelihood, would drive prices down. And whilst that policy protects American manufacturing jobs, which is a legitimate goal, it also means the EV transition in America is stalling. The US EV market has been flat or shrinking for over 20 consecutive months. Meanwhile, China crossed the 50% EV penetration threshold in mid-2024. Australia, with roughly the same EV starting point as the United States, grew EV sales by 38%. In the same period, the US flatlined. And here's the practical consequence. The rest of the world is accelerating into an electric future with affordable options. American consumers are navigating a shrinking selection of increasingly expensive vehicles, many of which are disappearing from the market entirely as manufacturers pull back. Ford's CEO calls Chinese competition an existential threat. Ford killed the F-150 Lightning. GM took a $5 billion write-down on China and dropped its Ultium brand. Stellantis posted a $26 billion loss in 2025, its first annual loss in history. And there are signs that even the industry knows it. Ford's CEO, the man who builds Mustangs and F-150s, is publicly asking the United States to allow Chinese EV technology into the country, because he believes competing against it rather than hiding from it is the only path forward. BYD has filed legal challenges against the tariffs in the US Court of International Trade. Canada has already cracked the door open, allowing 49,000 Chinese EVs at a 6.1% tariff in early 2026. The wall is holding for now, but the pressure building behind it is considerable. The trajectory, if you follow the data, is fairly clear. Chinese automakers will keep getting stronger in every market except the United States. They'll build local factories in Europe, Brazil, and Southeast Asia. They'll negotiate tariff exemptions, hire local workers, and strip away the arguments against them one by one. The 100% US tariff war will remain politically popular. Defending American auto workers is not a controversial position, but its effectiveness will erode as Chinese companies route production through third countries and build out North American supply chains. Speaking at the Detroit Economic Club in January 2026, the president said, "Let China come in, let Japan come in. They are, and they'll be building plants, but they're using our labor." Goldman Sachs predicts BYD's overseas sales will hit 1.5 million vehicles in 2026, exceeding even BYD's own internal targets. The global expansion will not slow down. For US automakers, the path is clear, even if it is uncomfortable. They need to close the technology and cost gap, not rely on the tariff wall indefinitely. GM and Ford have both scaled back their near-term EV targets, and that's a strategic risk.
And I've always said, like, if you insist on buying a car from your favorite company and you won't buy electric, you're only going to buy gas, you're kind of putting the nail in the coffin, because the signal is keep making gas cars.
Yes.
And now in 5 years, it might not even be an option. It'll just be too late. There'll be millions of BYD cars or, that are available, and your industry is just going to be toast.
Completely.
The companies that were slowest to respond to the Japanese challenges in the 70s and 80s, AMC, Chrysler, the old GM, paid the heaviest price. AMC was absorbed into Chrysler. Chrysler took 2 federal bailouts. The old GM went bankrupt. UAW membership fell from 1.5 million in 1979 to under 380,000 today. That's a 77% drop. For US consumers, the honest forecast is a period of fewer choices and higher prices in the short term, with a longer term outcome that depends heavily on whether American automakers use this window to genuinely compete or simply just wait. For Chinese automakers, the picture is straightforward. They've already won globally in ways that are difficult to reverse. Whether they win in America depends on geopolitics as much as engineering. Is this a story about China winning or America losing? Well, neither. It's a story about what happens when one country decides to go all in on the technology that will define the next 50 years of transportation and gets a 10-year head start. The Chinese auto industry didn't get here by accident. It didn't get here by cheating, and it didn't get here only because of government subsidies. It got here because of scale, speed, competition, and a willingness to vertically integrate and cut costs in ways that Western companies didn't move fast enough to match. The United States has real cards to play: engineering talent, capital markets, domestic demand, and an industrial base that still produces some of the most capable vehicles in the world. But playing those cards effectively requires an honest accounting of where the gap is and how fast it's growing. Tariffs can buy time. They cannot, on their own, close a technological lead. And the companies that build the best, most affordable electric vehicles will eventually find their way into every market that wants them, including this one. The question is whether American automakers use the time they've bought to genuinely compete.
Thank you so much, Elliot, for putting this together. I think we all need to stop pretending tariffs are a strategy. They're a stall. If you want more analysis like this, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments below, what do you think? How impactful is the future where EVs are made largely by China is going to impact the rest of us all? Sound off in the comments below. And if you want to see more awesome content from Chinese stories, let us know, because Elliot is going to work with us on a couple of episodes here and there, and he's there on the ground to cover them. All right, I'm Ricky with Vinci. Thank you so much for watching.